Welcome everyone to another week of the B-League's Best Ball Show. I am your host, I am Dan. I am at the B-League Says, coming at you with another Best Ball episode. We are here looking at a big board entry. So it's $10 entry. It's $200,000 to the prize winner. Standard tournament rules. You got to get through the top 14 rounds, top three of your group or your pool, and then it goes to a knockout phase from there. As always, underdog fantasy is half point PPR, 6 point per touchdown. Standard stuff, 4 points for a passing touchdown, as it would be. We have lined up at pick number 5, which is not a bad place to be if you want to go hero RB, if you want to take that running back first up off the board, which is probably what we're going to do today. Go from there. It's looking like either Bijan or Breece Hall. And from there, we could just avoid the position completely now. About a week or two ago, I went with a draft where I went heavy RB. It was ugly. Just to do it, I thought, you know what, I'll do a heavy RB draft and we'll go from there. But it is absolutely atrocious and I'll never do it again. Either way, thank you for joining me on this Sunday afternoon. It's a beautiful day outside, a little bit chilly out in New York. It is what it is, but here we are. Got a nice 2-2 draw from Man United. Wasn't what you want it to be, but hey, Liverpool didn't win, and that's all that matters right at this point of the day. It's weird to go live on a Sunday afternoon. I know everyone's got lots of other things to do as well, but thank you for joining with me. For going for 2 live, if you haven't already, you can find us on YouTube, hit those alerts, come and join us with our live shows every week, almost every day as it would be. Find us on Discord, going for 2 live. It's free. It's fantastic. That's what you really want, right? So that's where we are. We are going to be on the clock. We're going to take Bijan Robinson. Nice and easy, I think. I don't think there's any. They normally draft from my phone. I wonder why I haven't done that. Let's go Bijan, pick number 5, and we can stay away from the position, as it were, for a while now. I think that's the way to do it. So find us over on Discord, going for 2 live server. It's a fantastic place to be. And go do that. As it would be, this show will air live. It's pre-recorded, but I'm going live now. But it will air or go to your podcast places on Wednesday at about 2:00 in the afternoon, as it were. And that's okay. Drafting when you're doing shows from the middle of in the middle of the round, I hate it. I'd rather be on the turn so we get a bit more time to talk to you about the process or whatever it may be. But it is what it is in that regard. So what are we looking at from here? We're looking at wide receivers. If you haven't noticed, or if you have been living under a rock, if you've been living under a rock, Stephon Diggs gets traded away to the Houston Texans, I think for a 2nd-round pick and a few picks in exchange, and $30 million dead cap eaten by the Bills, all that sort of fun stuff. And if you haven't noticed, it's the sort of thing that's actually been screwing with Nico Collins, Tank Dell. So you would have noticed, if you've been following along with any of these shows, someone like Nico Collins has been that late first in February. It was like a late 1st-round pick and to an early mid-round 2nd-round pick, early 2nd-round pick is probably an honest place for him to be with Stroud in year 2. But with Diggs, they're both starting to fall back. So I'm interested to see today where they end up, because the last time we did a live draft, Diggs has overtaken Nico Collins, and they've both fallen to the back of that 2nd round, which is, they're still going to get that 120 targets each. I don't think that's really much of a shock to anyone, or it should be a shock to anyone. So to think that you're going to gain value on all of that, I think is an interesting place to be. We're going to be on the clock in a couple of picks' time, and you're looking at, again, because of this, Saquon Barkley's now fallen up a little bit higher. Looks like Devon Achan's going to go. Devon Achan 2-1. That's interesting. Okay, so we look at things that are different. And the last time I did this, I said, the running backs are in a weird spot, or they're not in a weird spot. But yeah, to see someone like Achan go on the turn with Gibbs. Gibbs has been in the 1st round or the 2nd round. He's all over the place. Kyron Williams flown up that 2nd round, start of the 2nd round. Jonathan Taylor's fallen back out of the 1st round into the 2nd round. Man, those running backs are just all over the place. So good to see that we're behind someone that wants to take their time and take the full 30 seconds just to draft the chalk. Thank you very much, Saquon Barkley. Doing me a favor, but we're going to be on the clock next. And the way it's looking, Marvin Harrison's going to fall Nico Collins there, who is gone just now. Brandon Ayuk is gone, which is interesting. and you're looking at a bunch of guys who in this range could do or could be anything. I haven't actually taken any Marvin Harrison this year because I feel like he's been going way too early. But if we're going to be sitting there at the 2-8, I think that's interesting. Let's go Marvin Harrison there because you're looking at the guys with Nico Collins and Diggs where you're not sure where they might be. I still think they're good for about 120 each. DJ Moore with Keenan Allen. Obviously, Keenan Allen gets traded to Chicago. We don't really know how that's going to work out. So to see DJ Moore in the second round, I feel like it's a bit of a fugazi. At that point, we've heard about Brandon Ayuk maybe not reporting because of contract disputes and issues. So him and Deebo Samuel there in the second round. Again, a bit of conflict in that. And then you got Chris Olave in there too. So, oh wow, Malik Neighbors is really starting to climb as well. So we can look at how these are going. Oh, look, there goes Nico. Look, and probably Diggs will go next or in the next couple anyway. So it is interesting with how that can be. But at the same time, good. There's a couple of people that I've been in here with. Oh, okay, yeah, it's the same guys that take 30 seconds. Okay, very good. Every time. Yeah, you can see where that might be for them. So interesting as it were. But we're going to be up very, very soon in 5 or 6 picks. And again, I like the receivers that are falling to us in that range. Mike Evans, Michael Pittman, DK Metcalf. I'm okay with all that. I'm actually interested to see the Rashee Rice discount that might be available. Obviously, he had some issues with he had a speeding issue in Dallas. Listen, I don't want to make light of any situation where people could be hurt, but I've lived in Dallas, and if you're not driving 140 down the 75, you're probably going to be hit. So everyone drives like a lunatic in Dallas. I'm not excusing it, but the idea that he's going to get at least seen for doing something stupid. Don't leave your car, stay in, own up to your shit, and then kick on from there. But the idea that people all know he's driving fast in Dallas, let me tell you, people drive fast in Dallas. They're crazy out there. It isn't safe. So, he's done something that everyone does every time they step into a car. It's madness. Driving out in Dallas, I will never not have to worry about that ever again, and I could not ever be happier about it. If I don't have to drive in that place ever anymore, I get it. But maybe they found some weed. How do you prove it's his? I don't even know. And there's other bits and pieces to the story that I'm probably leaving out. That's okay, but we're not here for a legal discussion. I'm just saying that probably isn't. I don't think the NFL is going to do anything. They don't really do anything for legal, any suspensions for things like this. You don't see. Jordan Addison did it last year. Chris Olave, Jalen Carter did it in college. Obviously, the NFL didn't bring it back up. They don't really do much with. Driving or driving issues. You just don't see it. Maybe a suspension for a week or two here or there, but Jordan Addison was doing 140 in a 50 zone, and he got nothing. So Malik Neighbors going off the board. I mean, if I just took Chris Olave there, I would have been happy. But to see Neighbors go before, where are we? Nico Collins, Diggs, Moore, Samuel Pittman, Evans, Olave. There's no way I'm going Neighbors and Harrison 1-2 here. I just don't think I have it in me, but it's either him or Waddle. Waddle's come up the board. I think it's DK Metcalf's come up the board as well. Josh Jacobs has now found himself in the third round after his free agency move to Green Bay, which is a fantastic place for him to be. I've got a gut feel. Let's grab some DK Metcalf. You've seen Malik Neighbors. He was a 5th round pick about a week and a half ago, and he's flying up the board. Now, for me, again, that's a bit of fool's gold when you see it like that. When you see someone who, for no reason, because he had a good pro day, he was always going to have a good pro day. He wasn't having a bad pro day, was he? So to see, Sheffield United equalised with Chelsea, 93rd minute. Good for them. Screw Chelsea, whatever. But for whatever it may be, in that regard, we are getting noises in the ear. I don't know why, but that's okay, as it were. Yeah. When you see someone fly the ball like Neighbors, I don't know. I can't get behind that. He was a 5th round pick about a week and a half ago, and to see him go in the early to mid third, that's a problem. I don't think that's great because there's no rhyme or reason to it. Cooper Kupp coming up a round or two, I get it, because everyone can say, he's healthy now and he's having a good offseason. I get it. There goes Rashee Rice at the end of the third. So Rashee Rice was maybe 2 weeks ago a mid-second round pick. If I'm being honest, maybe a late second round pick around that 210 mark, and he's fallen back to the 311 here. So you're going to get a good round and a half discount on a guy who's probably not going to get a suspension. I don't want to project, but again, when it comes to driving incidents, the NFL doesn't. I mean, Henry Ruggs, but he kind of killed a person, so that doesn't work in your favor if you're in that regard. But in terms of speeding violations, they don't really do anything. The last person I remember getting a suspension from a speeding or a car incident was like Terrence Williams, but that was because he was on the IR and failed a drug test. Had nothing to do with the fact that he wrapped a Ferrari around the light pole that ran away. So we forgot about that one. A good Terrence Williams reference there. The best blocking wide receiver in the NFL. No, he's just shit. He's no good. Outside of that, any other surprises in here? I've seen Sam Laporta. He's really consolidated himself in that third round from a second round pick, which is fantastic. A couple teams I like this guy here, Doorknob. What a great name. CD Lamb, Stephon Diggs, Chris Olave. That's a fantastic start. McCaffrey, Samuel Pittman. No, I really feel like that Lamb, Diggs, Olave. He's probably looking at that going, God damn, how did I get away with this? That's a fantastic start. Everyone's getting a discount on Justin Jefferson at this point, obviously because they don't know who the quarterback is. As soon as you hear something like, Sam Darnold could be the guy, he fell back to like the 1-8 in the draft I saw lately. That's just kind of wild as well. Breece Hall's been floating in between that 105 and the 108 mark, and that makes sense. But again, the bigger like fluctuation's been in those running backs. I've seen Jahmyr Gibbs go at the 1-9. I've seen him go at the 2-6. Like he's kind of all over the place. But Achane there going at the 2-1 is kind of insane to me. That's interesting. We're back on the clock now. Tank Dell's fallen into the fourth round. He was an early to mid second round pick at that point. Looking at Zay Flowers, Amari Cooper, George Pickens, we could go with another wide receiver. I feel like we have to. Tank Dell in there, maybe. Zay Flowers could pick up a lot of yards there. Amari Cooper with George Pickens. Let's go Amari Cooper. I like Amari Cooper here. I feel like he's going to have another big year. I don't believe that the insertion of Jerry Jeudy is going to be a problem for Cooper. I think that's more of an indictment on someone like Elijah Moore. It's going to be on David Bell. It's going to be David Njoku. I think those other guys are going to be really having a little bit here or there taken away from them over Amari Cooper in regards to Jerry Jeudy coming in. So I feel pretty good about Cooper going back to that 130 target range again. I don't think that's going to be much of a shock. Not to me anyhow. So Amari Cooper again, 128 targets last year, 132 the year before, 104 in 2021. So I don't feel like we're going to get anything different from Cooper. And if we can get another, 72, 75, receptions, 1,200 yards from him, I don't think that'll be different. And the idea that Jerry Jeudy's this like potent threat, like he's really done nothing in regards to his career. I mean, he's not done a whole bunch that would make you sit there going, well, I really need to get him on my roster. We got to do that. But in terms of how we can stack, obviously everyone's projecting Marvin Harrison to Arizona. That's something that we can add Kyler Murray to the queue for. DK Metcalf. I mean, Geno Smith has been providing value all year. He's in that 170 range in ADP, so we can add him there. And Deshaun Watson's still in the middle of nowhere as well, 155. He's in that 13th, 14th round. Watson's going to have a pretty good year, I think. If it wasn't for health, if it wasn't for health and Flacco last year, you'd be saying, what could he be? I really have no problem drafting. Again, I say this every time I come on a show, but I have no problem with like Watson. The person's a piece of shit, but let's just say, like in terms of a player, like he's still pretty good. He's still pretty electric. He's just got to get his health sorted. And if he can do that, we can go from there. Any shocks there in the fourth round? Not particularly. T. Higgins, obviously with contract issues, that's something we have to worry about there in the fourth round. Dunes has come up another round. Who are we looking at here? We're on the clock. Those running backs are starting to float up, but I am going to go with, I think he must be my most rostered wide receiver at this point, Christian Kirk. When Calvin Ridley disappeared this year in offseason, and he can go back to the Jags straight away, and all they did was replace him with Gabe Davis, it kind of says to me what you need to know. Davis is a downfield threat. He's a good field stretcher. That's all he really is. But in terms of that, like Davis and Ingram, if you want to go 1-for-1, very similar in how they might play, size, stature, and field stretching abilities, all that sort of stuff. Christian Kirk in that middle of the field is just going to eat up volume. And that's the thing for me. That's what I really want from here. And if I'm going to get him in the 5th round, it gives me an opportunity to stack with Trevor Lawrence again, who was a screaming value in the 10th, 11th round, no matter what. Injury plagued season for Christian Kirk last season. Still punched 85 targets in half a year. 2022, 133 targets, 84 for 1,108. I mean, you got to look at that and go, why is that not on the cards again? Now, someone's going to say the Jags are going to draft a wide receiver. And for the life of me, go through the wide receivers that they've actually drafted. It hasn't been since like Julian Blackman in 2012, but they actually drafted someone of significance. Now, you can say Allen Robinson. They didn't pay him. They let him walk. But it wasn't Marcus Lee. It wasn't Rashad Green. Parker Washington's done nothing. Go down the list of the guys that they've actually drafted. They don't actually do it very well. So the idea that they're just going to go off and draft someone very early, they don't do it. The Jags don't draft wide receivers early. And the ones that do, they do draft, they don't really do very well, or they don't pan out. Thank you, Laviska Shenault. Like, you can look at all these guys that they draft, and that it doesn't actually pan out for them. So the idea that Kirk isn't going to walk back into, again, another 130 targets and maybe another 1,100 yards, that's kind of crazy to me. And if we can pair him up, if you look at that, that's our 4th wide receiver. And you can pair him up with like anyone in that regard. But Trevor Lawrence, we're going to add him into the queue. I'm very happy with that. If it looks like I'm looking down, it's because I am. No idea what I'm doing. I can't do the show, look at the board and my phone at the same. It's absolutely atrocious. But as we're looking here, I was talking before about the 4th round. Again, in terms of anything to know or see, Travis Kelce's come up around, which is interesting to see. Was there a stack there with Mahomes that I don't know about? No. So, and they passed on that as well. They let Mahomes fall. But, you know, in that regard, Dun's there in the 4th round. He's come up around. Pickens is now flying up the board into the 4th round. He's come up maybe 2 or 3 rounds since Field and Wilson were taken over. The 5th round, Terry McLaurin. I still don't know why people get on this guy. For the life of me, Terry McLaurin, he's the most boring wide receiver, and he's only there because he's the only wide receiver. There's nothing else around him to stop him from doing it. I understand that, but now we're going to throw a rookie quarterback in and hope that it works out. Richardson going in the 5th before Stroud. That's interesting. 3 quarterbacks in the 5th with Mahomes rounding it out. Dalton Kincaid's flying up the board now with the removal of Diggs to Houston. So, and Marquise Brown, obviously, with the issues that Rice may or may not have, he's now in the 5th round from about the 8th or 9th. So he's flying up. Always interesting to me to see Calvin Ridley go before DeAndre Hopkins. But we're starting to see a lot of these running backs. I mentioned before, like, no one wants running backs. They're starting to fly off the board. So you see Cook, White, Mixon, obviously being traded to Houston as well, Pacheco, Henry, ETN, all between the 4th and mid-4th and mid-6th. That's all starting to come off the board now. And that's interesting to see because, you know, you go back a few weeks and these guys were still maybe outside of it. You could have drawn the line at ETN. These guys were all 6th round picks, will give it back. Maybe Cook, maybe White, but Henry, Mixon, Pacheco, these guys were nowhere to be seen. We're going to be on the clock in about 2 picks' time. A flux of running backs are there, a couple tight ends as well. I've gone Bijan Robinson in the 1st round. Pitts may be there as well. But there's a couple running backs too, but we've got the quick turnaround. So I can look at a James Conner-Ramondre. I could go Pitts. I can go Kittle. And if I want Kittle, I can stack into Purdy if I feel like that's necessary. Let's get weird. Let's go Kyle Pitts. I'm not the biggest Kyle Pitts guy. We could go Ingram. Let's go Kyle Pitts. Let's get weird. And we're going to add Kirk Cousins into our list as well of stack guys that we need to target. It's going to be hard to do with Lawrence and Cousins there. We might have to reach on one of them to make that work. But with Lawrence and Cousins, I might just pack up at 2 and let it go. Kenneth Walker in there. Addison again. Jaden Reed's finally fallen back around. I couldn't be happier to see that. I actually did a bit of work on the Packers receivers. I know that sounds funny. And I was looking at target shares with and without Watson and health and all that sort of stuff. And as I was going about with it, Reed is really viable when Watson isn't there. I know that sounds really simple to say. But in terms of like his target share, he goes from like 4.5 to 7 without Watson. He's the guy that jumps, but when Watson's there, Reed is like the 3rd receiver every time. So to see him go very far ahead of Watson and Dubs, like Dubs with all 3 of them there is the number 1 guy. in terms of target share, yards, and all that sort of stuff, which no one wants to talk about. No one wants to know about Romeo Doubs being the top receiver in Green Bay. Everyone wants to keep getting on this Jaden Reed garbage. It's just mind-blowing to me. That's a nice jersey, Nottingham Forest away. How about that? Couple running backs off the board there. I'm probably going to tee one up here. There's too many floating around. James Conner's in there. Probably not. Christian Watson's going in the 7th round. I was just talking about Green Bay receivers and Watson going in the 7th round. Again, you're talking about someone who I really think the public have got this wrong, Green Bay players at this point. I really feel like Dubs should be going before the three of them. But Watson, he's got that red zone threat about him. He, the higher percent of, I think he had like 26% of his targets last year when he was healthy with red zone targets, which is interesting to note. Harris has fallen in there. Hopkins, again, going a round and a half after Ridley is just kind of mind-blowing to me. Aaron Jones has fallen. James Conner, Ramondre Stevenson. I kind of like James Conner. I don't know what to expect from Jones in Minnesota. Let's go James Conner. Let's get a running back there. So we've avoided running back from the 1st round to the 7th round. So we've got Bijan and Conner. I like that. A little volatile with Conner. Tends to get hurt a little bit, doesn't he? So we've got that going for us. Probably not going to land Kyler Murray. I don't think he's going to fall to us in the 8th round. But look at the running back flux there. Kamara, Montgomery, Walker, Pacheco, Mixon, Chubb, Jones, Conner, Harris. You'd say about 70% of the picks in those last 2 rounds have been running backs. A couple of wide receivers starting to filter out. You're going to get a few more rookies in there too. Brian Thomas has gone off the board in the 6th round. And that's probably the last of the tight ends, unless you get to your Jake Ferguson's, Dallas Scott's, all that sort of stuff. Those Cole Kmet, really mid-level, replacement-level tight ends are going to come in the next 2 rounds. But interesting to see how it is. But yeah, Burrow there in the 7th round. Again, even Burrow's fallen around or 2 here. And I don't really feel like it's necessary that he should. But, hey, you take the discount when you can, as it were. Let's see how we're looking at the moment. Let's have a look. Let's get out of this draft board. We'll get to that in a second. At the moment, our team, Bijan and James Conner, not too bad. Harrison, Metcalf, Cooper, Kirk with Kyle Pitts. Probably going to start looking at quarterbacks in the next round or 2 because we've got a few stacks we can tee up, but we don't have Lawrence, so it's probably not as necessary to key him in with Christian Kirk. I don't have anyone else on the Jags, so if we're looking at anyone there, it's probably Kirk Cousins. Maybe we can get him in the 9th round, 10th round, ideally, if we could. The last time we did a show as well, there was a massive flux on quarterbacks that were taken in one hit, and I was left with like nobody. And it's interesting to see, but what can you do? And there you go, Jake Ferguson. There we go. As mid as it gets. Any surprises there in the 7th round? Outside, you've got to look at these receivers and where they're going. Chris Godwin's going to get another 120 targets. It's not going to change. And he's fallen into the 7th round behind some really questionable players. If you don't know what Brian Thomas is going to do, you take Godwin. 1-to-1, Godwin's going to outdo Reed this year. He might be on par with Deontay Johnson and Jordan Addison. But to see, again, Hopkins going a round and a half behind Calvin Ridley, that's kind of weird to me. And there goes Kyler, so we don't have to worry about that either. Also interesting to see Najee Harris going a few picks before Jalen Warren. Those guys are way too close together. You look at Arthur Smith and how he deploys running backs. When he was in Tennessee, it was Derrick Henry. When he was in Atlanta, obviously there was the one Tyler Algier game, but it was really Bijan Robertson. There's no split. There's no split backfield. So to see Jalen Warren go in the 7th round, that's kind of mad to me. JSN's fallen back a couple of rounds as well. So it's a fairly interesting round, the 6th and 7th, kind of vital with how people set their rosters up. But I don't think I need to go near running back again for another couple of rounds. I can add 1 or 2 more, unless there's something of value there on the board. Javonte Williams, Austin Eckler, I'm okay with that. A couple quarterbacks here. I think I'm going to wait till I come back around. Jameson Williams, Mike Williams. Mike Williams there in New Jersey. New England's interesting. But outside of that, not a bunch of guys that I really want to sink my teeth into. Zamir White's still the only game in Vegas. Let's go Mike Williams. Mike Williams there with Aaron Rodgers. That gives us another partnership that we can look for, another later one that we don't have to worry about. Chase, it's not like we have to reach for these sorts of guys. We're just trying to add them in as we go. We're going to move Trevor Lawrence away for now. But if I end up with two quarterbacks like Kirk Cousins and Aaron Rodgers that, pop their Achilles in the same, that's just probably silly on my end. But hey, if we get weird, let's get weird. That's a really nice jersey for Nottingham Forest. Not on the clock for a while. I'm not sure what to make of this backfield with Austin Eckler and Brian Robinson. A couple of years ago, it was very much the world of take. If you're not sure, take the later guy. But they're going within 5 picks of each other, 5-6 picks of each other. I don't know if that's something I really want to invest in. But that obviously came down to who was it? It was Zamir White and whoever else the Patriots had that year. I forget who they had there. It was like, oh, this is what we're going to do. And obviously, Stevenson took over and all that sort of stuff happens. And, people kind of get wild on that. But also hard to reverse stack or find those playoff stacks as well. So, if we miss out on Cousins, you want to look at someone like, how the NFL does their scheduling as well. It's like, oh, those playoff weeks, we're going to have the NFC South versus the NFC South. We want, Atlanta versus New Orleans or Carolina or Tampa or whatever. So if we miss out on Cousins, you might be able to tee up with Carr and someone else and try to get that hopeful playoff stack or mid-division stack. What is going on? On the clock and a couple of picks, I'm still looking about. Romeo Doubs is there. I am going to tee him up. If not, there's Myers, there's Sutton. I don't feel like I need another tight end for a while. I feel pretty good about that. Going to running backs. Singletary, Brooks. You're looking at Gus Edwards, Chuba Hubbard range on the turn when we come back around. So I'm okay to go wide receiver here. We're going to get our sixth receiver and we're going to ease up. We're going to start to fill a bit of our roster, fill in a few of the blanks in there as well. So maybe a running back here or there, a quarterback here or there. We're going to start getting a few of these guys because we can. So to get halfway through, we're going to feel pretty good about Romeo Doubs. I feel all right with that. And look, you can see that flood of running backs. Those running backs were all maybe a round or two further back. Eckler was a round or two further back. Swift was a round or two further back. Raheem Mostert, he was my most drafted running back at one point. And that was because he was in the 10th, 11th round. The RB2 last year was in the 10th, 11th round. He's re-signed with Miami or he's extended his contract. Yeah, of course he has. But yeah, absolutely worth it at that point. But you can see that flux. Look, Harris, Connor, Jones, Chubb, Warren, Stevenson. You got Eckler, Swift, Mostert, Pollard, Williams, Moss, Spears, Robinson, all within the last 20-odd picks. So you're talking about 8, 9, 10 running backs that are flooding up. And it's okay to get a piece or two of them here or there. But, yeah, even Javonte Williams, if I'm not sure about him, Jaleel McLaughlin's there. And I can grab him. He's going to come back from injury too. He might not play the biggest role, but he's going to have a role to play there in Denver. There's not a very big depth chart there. It's him, Samaj P. Ryan, and Javonte Williams. So McLaughlin's going to get touches at one point. So I'll take the next guy up. Interesting to see Curtis Samuel go there as well. Curtis Samuel obviously signing with Buffalo, and then Diggs goes. Now Samuel's really, it's got Shakir in there as well. And I don't even remember that they lost Gabe Davis. It's really just the two of them with Dalton Kincaid. So if you really want to get on Curtis Samuel being this, I don't know. That's, again, it was a 15th round wide receiver. I was okay taking him there, but we're just assuming he's going to have this massive season in Buffalo. That's, again, you don't want to say fool's gold, but you've got to be careful with these sorts of picks. We are looking around the board and looking around the clock here. We're up in 5 or 6 picks time. If there is someone like Devin Singletary, Jonathan Brooks, Chase Brown's in there, again, we've seen Zach Moss go in the 9th round. I was absolutely not about Chase Brown all offseason. For those who have listened to any of my episodes, absolutely zero need to go and get Chase Brown in the 10th round when he was dropping. But when you see Zach Moss go first, and if Brown tends to fall to you, okay, now you can get behind it. I don't think he's going to be the lead guy. I think it's going to be very much a committee backfield. So there's no need to go out and get the guy who you think is going to just share it first. I just don't see the point. Gabe Davis there in the 10th round is interesting. Obviously in Jacksonville, again, people might say, oh, it's Calvin Ridley and all that. Obviously Zay Jones, he had some issues last year with health. Do I feel like he's going to eat into Kirk? No. Maybe that's a problem for Evan Ingram. Maybe that's Ingram and Zay Jones that are going to eat a little bit more. He's going to eat into a little bit more of them. Oh, Heung-min Son, such a good player. Hits the post. Not that anyone cares here. We're all talking about best ball, and here we are looking at Forest versus Spurs. It's just on. It's a Sunday afternoon. It's not there's any NFL on. It's WrestleMania season. Day 2 is about to kick off. I'm not going to do any spoilers for those who are watching on Wednesday. That's going to be wild. Hey, this happened. Dan, you've killed me here. We're on the clock here. Josh Downs, Justin Herbert. Look, there's Chase Brown, Devin Singletary. Kirk Cousins is there. I'm looking at the team around. If I'm looking at the running backs in there, I think I am going to go Cousins. Let's take the quarterback. It's a shame because I don't really want to not go get Singletary or something, but if he's replacement value, then maybe he'll come back around. Maybe he won't, and that's fine. Singletary is the only running back in town in New York at the moment. I guess there's no Matt Breida, no Saquon Barkley. I don't think it's really that big of an issue. But when you're looking around and you can see the quarterbacks that some of the teams have, they've all taken 1 or 2. It's time to start filling out. And again, there goes Herbert, there goes Chase Brown, a couple of these sorts of guys. We're probably going to miss out on one of those running backs. And if there's a tight end here, if I'm looking at the board, someone like Schultz, there goes Singletary. Chuba Hubbard, Blake Corum, a couple of quarterbacks in that time as well. And as I said before, we don't really have to start reaching for wide receivers because our wide receiver room, I'll go back to our draft board or our roster. Sorry, I'll go have a look at that in a minute. We'll see how that's panned out. But Jaden Daniels, again, people are projecting into Washington in the 11th round. And look, that makes sense when you look at who took McLaurin. He took McLaurin in the 5th. He's got Daniels there, and he's got 3 quarterbacks. So, we can safely assume that the guy that's first up, he's not going. Someone else has taken 1 before us to Richardson. He's only got 1. Okay. We're going to be on the clock next as well. So when you look at who's about, like Corum, Zach Charbonnet, Jalen Wright, Jerome Ford, not a bunch of running backs to have a whole lot of faith in. But we're looking around Shakir, Troy Franklin, Jerry Judy's an interesting one, Rashid Shaheed, Keon Coleman. I am going to go TJ Hawkinson. I am all about that life. I've been over this before, I think, maybe about a month ago. We were talking about tight ends during one of our live streams, and I know it's not really good. Look, we have Kyle Pitts, and now we have TJ Hawkinson. And if I want to go get Sam Darnold in the 20th, I'll go get Sam Darnold in the 20th. But the truth is, Hawkinson has had, and I feel like the doc is going to correct me on this, and if he DMs me during the week and says, Dan, what are you talking about? I will take that lashing. But you go back, I feel like Rob Gronkowski had the same knee injury at the same time of the year. I think it was around 2013. And he was back week 1 the next year, and he was punching out stats like it was nothing else. Now, the smart ass in the crowd's going to say, yeah, he's on steroids, Dan. It's okay, I understand. But I don't think that really helps in knee rehabilitation. Yeah, steroids are going to help soft tissue repair. Very good. But I feel like TJ Hawkinson, I think he's going to be back week 1, week 2. I don't think they're going to pup list him. I think he's going to be ready to go. And if that's the case, we're getting arguably the best tight end in the game in the 11th round. And we're always talking about who can outperform and who can outproduce ADP. You don't have to do much to be a top tight end in the NFL. Like, you look at the guys, like, you look at like the yards, like 450 yards is a top 1 tight, like a top 10, top 12 tight end. And in half PPR, it's not even more than that. Like, so to think that, like, yeah, it's just kind of funny to me to think, oh man, he finishes the tight end 1. He had like 500 yards, 40 receptions, and 6 touchdowns. Yeah, it's Jake Ferguson. Good job. Like, you don't have to do a whole bunch. So if he does miss a few weeks, and I've got Kyle Pitts in there, Hawkins is going to come back and still finish as a top 12 tight end, at least on points per game anyway. And that's what we really want. Like, his body of work over 18 games, 17 games, might not be ideal. But if you're telling me that he comes back and he starts punching out 10, 12 points per game in half PPR, I'll take that every day of the week. And you look at the people that he's going in and around, I'll take that. Going to be on the clock very, very soon. Yeah, I'm looking around. Maybe Jerome Ford might be a thing. We can round out a little bit more of that Cleveland team with Watson, maybe, or maybe not. Quentin Johnson's in there, Josh Palmer. Oh, there goes Jahan Dotson as well. We're up in 3 picks time. Brandon Cooks quietly had a good year last year, Brandon Cooks. I know it doesn't sound like that, but like 81 targets, 54 receptions, 600. He had 8 touchdowns. Like, you're not thinking about that with Brandon Cooks. He didn't really do a whole bunch. 8 touchdowns. It was the most innocuous 8 touchdown season you've ever seen. Good piece of a decent offense as well. And if you're getting him as your wide receiver 7, not bad. Aaron Rodgers is off the board, so we don't have to worry about that. Oh, there goes Brandon Cooks. Well, crap. Well, Josh Palmer's in there. Let's go Jerome Ford. Dan said he's going to do something, he's going to do the other thing. We can sit there and project knee injuries like we did with Hawkinson. How Nick Chubb comes back is another thing. That was a really messy knee injury too. That was terrifying. Poor guy. I'm sure he'll be fine, but Jerome Ford's probably done enough to carve a bit more of a role, maybe on 3rd downs as well, maybe in red zone touches as well. He provides a little bit of unpredictability. And if we're smart about this, we're going to reach a little bit. We're going to go get Deshaun Watson when we come back in 7 picks. Might reach maybe half a round. He's not going to come back to us. He's not going to be there in the 13th. I can promise you that. So, in the 14th. So we're going to go take Watson next. We're going to get our second quarterback. As Dan talks into his drink. Put your drink down, Dan. I can hear Jeff in the background. Sorry, buddy. But how our team looks at this point as well, I don't think it looks too bad. Cousins at quarterback. We've got the stack there with Bijan and Pitts at tight end, Bijan at running back, Connor, Jerome Ford, Marvin Harrison, DK Metcalf, Cooper, Kirk, Williams, and Dubs. I like that wide receiver room a lot. And we got Pitts and Hockenson there with 2 tight ends as well. I can live with that. If I'm looking at the board here, is there any shocks that I've seen in the last couple of rounds? Again, outside of Daniels going in the 11th round before Trevor Lawrence, I just don't know if I agree with that. I don't think that's the right way to look at it. But at the same point, like, if you think he's going to have some like Anthony Richardson in like this format an underdog, he was on like 18, 19 points a game or something crazy. So if you think that Jaden Daniels is going to do that, I understand. And that's, hey, God bless. But, you're also looking at someone like, Trevor Lawrence, who still has like those massive games in him, those massive weeks in him. And that was on a down season last year. They weren't really good at all. That's not a reflection of him, I don't think. Okay, the turnover is probably not great, but the Jags as a whole were just a mess. They can protect him. I feel like that's a good place for him to be. We are now going to take Deshaun Watson. Why are you going to take him over Matt Stafford? We're going for the stack. That's it. We've got a couple of Cleveland boys. We're going to go from there. But yeah, outside of that, Quentin Johnson in the 12th round, like, that's still anything up in the air. Jahan Dotson, I feel like it's a sitting duck. I know that sounds funny, but like, obviously no Logan Thomas, no Curtis Samuel, no Byron Pringle. I know that doesn't sound silly, but whatever. No Antonio Gibson. There's a lot of work available for like Washington players. But if you're talking about like how good can this guy be, he was okay. He was just okay when Curtis Samuel wasn't around. He couldn't outwork Curtis Samuel for like more work. And now we're talking about this guy like he should be something bigger than what he is. I feel like that's, again, it's in the 12th round, there's no real risk to that. But at the same point, how do you trust it? I don't think you can. But again, I'd rather pay like a sixth, seventh round pick for him next year than now at the 12th. And we're always looking for people that outproduce that ADP. But like even at this point, like I don't even think you can. Michael Mayer again is another tight end that we're looking at above Pat Freemouth. Maybe that might be a thing. I like the idea of Pearsall there. I think he's a bit of a wild card in this year's wide receiver class. Pearsall going in the 13th round, I like a lot. And a couple of rookie running backs in there. Jalen Wright, Marshall and Lloyd. I understand. So far, our build, where are we? 2 quarterbacks, 3 running backs, 6 receivers, 2 tight ends. I think we can stay. Well, I mean, I don't, unless Geno Smith's in there. Geno Smith's coming up. Maybe we can get him on the turn. If not, we'll find someone like Sam Darnold. Maybe in the 20th round. Good old Sam. Good old Sam Darnold in the 20th round. That's what we're doing. Darnell Mooney's there. We could grab a little bit more off the Atlanta office. I really don't want to do that. We've already got 3 pieces of that team as well. Roman Wilson's an interesting name. I feel like he's a nice young rookie coming through the ranks. Maybe we can grab like a Rico Dowdle, Antonio Gibson. I feel like we need a couple running backs at this point. And that is probably what we're going to do. Again, I don't believe in taking backup running backs at this point. Do I want Tyler Algier if I buy Bijan Robinson? No, because I'm at this point, I'm projecting Bijan to not miss any time. You have to. Do I want to take my backup running back where there's viable players around? No. We're going to take Rico Dowdle because at the moment, again, the only game in town in Dallas, the only running back is Rico Dowdle. Now they're talking about bringing Zeke Elliott back in. I don't think he's got the juice to really matter. You know, if you're looking at anything else, Dowdle, he had some okay games in there last year. He's okay in all sectors. So I don't hate this for him. And if I'm getting him in the 14th round as my RB4, again, you want pieces of good offenses. The Cowboys, you can say what you want about their offseason. You can say about what they have and haven't done in free agency. They're still a damn good offense. And to think, Geno, that's early. Okay, well, what can you do? When you look at all that sort of stuff, like you're thinking about why wouldn't I want the running back for the Dallas Cowboys at the moment? Yeah, they're probably going to have to draft one. They have to be better than Dowdle. There's probably a few that are. But they seem to have learned their lesson about paying and drafting running backs early. Obviously, they didn't really want to keep Tony Pollard around. They kept him back for a year. That was it. They didn't recruit anyone in free agency. This might be their thing. They might roll into the season with literally Rico Dowdle as their number 1 running back. And you're going to get him at this point in the 14th round. Now, obviously, there's going to be a lot that we can talk about. We can talk a lot about this, in about a month's time after the draft happens. Oh, the Cowboys took this guy, and this guy's going to be a certified stud running back because he's in Dallas's offense. Yeah, probably, right? Yeah, okay, we can eat that loss later. I'm going to go get another tight end running back. What are we looking at? Elijah Mitchell's an interesting name. A couple of those guys in there. Hunter Henry, Kate Otten. We go get Otten, that'll be it. Hunter Henry. Let's do that. Hunter Henry, we don't have to worry about tight end again. We've got our 3rd. There we go. Hunter Henry, very good tight end to have around when there's a rookie. His stats have proven it, obviously, what he had. Justin Herbert, that final year in LA, then he goes to New England the next year, had a solid season with Mac Jones in Mac Jones's rookie season. He now finds himself back in New England after free agency tempts him, and he's looking at either Drake May or Jaden Daniels. There's no way they're not going quarterback at pick 3. Don't buy into this. Oh, they're trading out. Not a chance in hell. So if you know that you got Hunter Henry with a rookie quarterback, I feel like that's a great place to be. They did bring in Austin Hooper, but I don't think he matters at this point. He's just there to block. And Hunter Henry can do both. And at this point, you look at that receiver room, it's like Demario Douglas, KJ Osborne, Juju Smith-Schuster. It's still trash. Kendrick Bourne. Henry's probably, and I mean this in the nicest possible way, the best receiver on the Patriots offense at this point. And you can make what you want of that. It's not great. Three tight ends. We've got some touchdown potential in there with Hawkinson and Henry. We're hoping that Kyle Pitts does better than normal, and we can look into that. But at this point, there hasn't been a lot that's blown me away at this point of players that we can kind of go for. Looking at maybe another running back or two on the turn when they come back. Any quarterbacks? Maybe JJ McCarthy, someone that we take. Russell Wilson, Daniel Jones, maybe. I think we're going to take someone like JJ. Let's try JJ McCarthy. I have absolutely none of him, but let's take him. What if he ends up in Minnesota? What if that happens and we've got Hawkinson? There's a stack that we didn't even know that was coming. It's going to happen. I'll take it. Why wouldn't you? I'll tell you why, because he's probably going to go before I actually get a chance to do anything. So that's basically where I'm at. Lucky me. Again, thank you for joining me on this Sunday afternoon. This show will go into that podcast area on what? On Wednesday. We're going to post this on Wednesday. That'll be a whole bunch of fun. Easy work. Team's looking okay at this point. We're going to be on the clock in about 2 or 3 picks. 4 picks if you're playing along. If you're listening, it doesn't really matter. But our team at this point, for those who are there, 2 quarterbacks at this point, Cousins and Watson. I don't mind that at all. Running backs, Bijan Robinson, James Conner, Jerome Ford, Rico Dowdle. Wide receivers, Harrison, Metcalf, Cooper, Kirk, Williams, and Dubs. Christian Kirk, Mike Williams, Ramey Dubs. I really should say who Mike Williams is because they say Williams like potatoing 4 or 5 different guys. Tight ends, we've gone 3. We've gone Pitts, Hawkinson, and Henry. We have no reason to go to tight end again. We are on the clock. Don't like doing that. Where are we? On the clock. Let's go JJ McCarthy. Let's get weird. We're going to get our 3rd quarterback. I have no idea where he's going to go. Everyone's talking about maybe he's going to go to Minnesota, Denver. Maybe he goes to the Giants. Maybe he goes to the Raiders. Whatever. We've drafted Hawkinson. We're hoping for McCarthy. There you go. That's what we're doing. But again, we're going to be on the clock in a few picks' time. That's it for quarterbacks, I believe. I don't think we need to go down any more at this point. Maybe a wide receiver here or there. Some upside guys. And we can swing for the fences in that regard. Roschon Johnson falling back into the 7th round. That makes me sad. 17th round. That makes me sad. But I'll tell you what. If he's there, I think it's the worst thing to do. I don't need to watch that. That's going to scare the crap out of me. No thanks. When you're watching TV and they put these ads on, I just caught like the back end of like a horror movie. I don't need to see that. Not a horror movie guy, this guy. Thank you for joining. Someone's on Twitch joining us. That's awesome. The old former Twitch king over here. It's an in-joke for those who are paying attention about 2 years ago. Let's bring up the draft board again. Let's go over here. Any shocks that I need to know about? Javon Baker, like, go on UCF, charge on, go Unites. Baker in the 17th, I was looking at him. That's a shame. That is a shame. Tyler Boyd's had talks in Kansas. Couldn't have gone Pittsburgh. That makes sense. He was a Pittsburgh boy, wasn't he? He went to Pittsburgh College. I can't see him going to Pittsburgh after spending all that time in Cincinnati. Crafty player, though. I think we're going to. If Roschon Johnson's there, I feel like I have to at this point. 17th round. We got to do it. Let's get weird. I tell you what, I don't mind Mike Gesicki in the 17th round either. You're going to get Mike Gesicki. I don't hate that. Okay, let's do it. Roschon Johnson, 17th round. Let's get the guy. Let's make Jamie happy for a few days. The fall from grace for Roschon. Unbelievable. 10th round pick 2 months ago, everyone's favourite there, and then he's just fallen off the planet. DeAndre Swift landing in Chicago. Again, and we're going to project Chicago to be a good offense. It's going to be Caleb Williams. You look at that. Swift there with Roschon. Okay, not bad. Receiver room's still a bit dodgy. Okay, Moore and Allen are fantastic. I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say dodgy, but after that, it's a very light backfield. It's Tyler Scott. That's it. Okay, they're going to go wide receiver at some point. I don't think they're going to go pick 9 wide receiver. I don't see it. It's a deep wide receiver class. They might wait till that second, third round. I don't see them doing that pick 9. They've done a lot of work, obviously, fronting up that defense as well. They've re-signed a lot of good players. So for them to just not do that again, maybe a linebacker here, it's way too early to pick 9. I'm not saying they're doing that, but maybe an edge, maybe another corner, maybe something like that. Maybe. Wide receiver seems like a smart choice as well, I guess, but any of those wide receivers that they might take a pick 9, they've been long gone anyway. Corley's out, Polk's out, Burton's out. All been drafted rookies. Devontae Walker, Jalen McMillan as well, Javon Baker. Decent players in there. Up in 9 picks. Up in 9 picks time. There goes Greg Dortch. He's fallen into a nice position there in Arizona, obviously. Marquise Brown gone. Probably going to be Marvin Harrison, pick 4 to Arizona. Michael Wilson, he's competing with, but that would be a nifty little trio there with McBride and Connor. 3 more picks to go. Thank you very much for sticking with me. As always, I am at TheBLeague's over on Twitter or wherever the hell you find me. Go find us on our free Discord, Going for 2 Live. YouTube, hit the alerts, Going for 2 Live. Find your favorite shows every week. This one will air on Wednesday. Even though we're live now, the podcast will come out in a few days' time. Listen to me on 2.0 speed. Get through it. Nice, easy hour. Gone in 35 minutes. No problems. Poor Damian Pierce going to the 18th round. Zach Ertz is in there as well. Not many more surprises at this point. Wide receivers that I'm looking at, if you want to find a couple more to go through at this point, our build, 3 quarterbacks, 5 running backs, 6 receivers, 3 tight ends, no more tight ends or quarterbacks. We don't need to go down that path anymore. So we're probably looking at another receiver or 2 and a running back. You want to look at guys who can produce some numbers. Someone like Demarcus Robinson, he had a very good stretch down the end, a couple touchdowns as well for the Rams. Good offense, good player. Someone like Trey Palmer, again, a quietly surprising season, 68 targets. I think he was the 3rd on targets on the team for the Bucs last year. He outplayed or out-targeted Kate Otten. So, it really was Evans, Godwin, Palmer. So you're talking about the 3rd receiver on a team that's going to throw it a lot again. Interesting name. People, again, projecting Treylon Burks to move into the slot. I don't think that's the thing, but, if you want to do that, you could. Maybe it makes it a little bit easier for him. Jonathan Mingo could step up. Josh Reynolds found his way over to Denver as well. Interesting play to go get there because that wide receiver depth chart, that's up for grabs there. They also don't have a quarterback yet. Unless it's Jared Stidham. Either way, interesting names and players in there. I think we're going to go Demarcus Robinson. I don't mind him in that regard. Obviously, there's Kupp. Obviously, there's Nakua. Tutu Atwell's going to play a little bit in there as well. I understand. But again, he might find himself in some of those special teams positions. Again, the health of a few of those players hasn't been there. So I don't mind Demarcus Robinson there. Guys that can, pitch in and, throw us a few extra weeks. I feel like that's not the worst place to be. Someone like Darius Slayton, if he's still on the board, where's he? Slayton's still there too. So someone like Slayton could be in there. Again, 700 yards back-to-back years, 3 touchdowns a season or 4 and 2 if you want over the past 2. Again, he's another guy that could chip in. KJ Osborne in New England. I don't want too many pieces of the New England Patriots offense. I'll be very clear about that. But, another name in there. He's had a few big spike weeks in there too. So there are plenty of guys like that. If you want to go get an interesting name, I know it sounds weird to say, and I hate saying this because I feel like they're going to have to address it in the draft. Someone like Khalif Raymond you look at for Detroit, like Jameson Williams, if you look at that depth chart and how that works out, at this point of his career, is he closer to Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta or Khalif Raymond? I kind of think he's closer to Raymond because those other 2 are just out there. Gibbs is going to get those targets as well. He's out there too. But you look at Williams, like, okay, they have to get him going. But the truth is, he's probably closer in his projections to Cleve Raymond this year than he is anyone else on that team. And that's kind of sad for what they've been able to do. But it is what it is. Going to need that other receiver at this point. We're going to be on the clock just coming up. Unless there's someone in Will Shipley, I don't mind. AJ Dillon's going to have a role. "30 seconds. Don't take the 30 seconds, man. Don't do it to me. If this is a team that wants to start firing it off, let's get weird. Let's get Treylon Burks. If this is a team under Callahan, obviously he's used those 3 wide receiver sets in Cincinnati. He had that with Higgins. He had that with Chase and Boyd. Obviously incredible receivers in their own individual right. Wasn't really known for his tight end use. And I feel like, the Titans are going to draft a wide receiver as well. They're probably going to do that at some point. But at this point, you're looking at the third receiver on a team that's probably going to uptick on those passing attempts. Let's go Treylon Burks. Let's see if they can get him going. They did invest in him. Let's see what happens in that. We're going to go take a running back with our last pick. We'll find a backup with a bit of upside in there. Obviously, there's guys in there. You want to have a look at Dylan Laub. He's obviously got some of those pass-catching skills that we like. Justice Hill's in there too. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Kamani Vidal's been the name of the town as well lately. He's been a name that's been thrown around. Okay, this guy could surprise. Hull, Carter. All those sorts of guys are in there as well. Again, Ty Johnson's the next running back that's up as well in Buffalo. You want to have a look at what they have. It's James Cook and no one else. So someone like Ty Johnson, again, I know it sounds stupid, but he's someone that you could look at and go, well, if something happens to James Cook, Ty Johnson's the next man up. That could be something that we look at as well. So it's an interesting an interesting way to look at what that backfield is. Emmanuel Wilson's another name, maybe. A whole bunch of guys in there that could be something. They're probably not. Clyde Edwards-Helaire back with Kansas as well. There's another name that we could look at. For what it was, he's had a few big games here or there. Something happens to Pacheco. Again, they know a guy that they've had for the last 3-4 years. He's going to fall into that. Calvin Austin's a nice player. Calvin Austin's fallen in with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, he was drafted a year or 2 ago, and obviously the removal of Deontay Johnson. That's a very interesting play to take there in the 19th round. I like it. I've got a fair bit of him this year. Very interesting. And again, this season, I've been trying, more than ever this year, I've been trying to get a different spread of players. I know it sounds funny, but I've been trying, last year, more than anything, okay, I want to keep my percentages on all these players down, no matter how convicted I am in them. Because all it takes is a little bit of something to go wrong and then you're screwed completely. So the last year I've been working on taking different players where I can. So, someone like Helaire, if he's there, I'm going to take him there in the 20th round and hope for the best. But there's no one else really about at this point. Maybe another wild card we could look at, but we're going to take running back with that last. Israel Abanikanda. This guy flew up those draft boards last year, didn't he? Oh my God. That was wild. Mike Gesicki's fallen back into the 20th round. Oh, my God. I was talking about him in the 17th. A pass-catching option for Cincinnati. It's just whatever. I've seen worse players taken for nothing else, so that's okay. Okay, let's go take Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He's going to be our 6th running back, as it would be. Let's have a look at how this looks. Here we are. No surprises there. Michael Thomas in the 20th round is just sad. Oh my God, poor guy. Free agency and all that sort of stuff. It hits you hard. Our team at this point, Kirk Cousins, Deshaun Watson, JJ McCarthy, that's our quarterback room. Our running backs, probably a little underwhelming, but there might be some veteran depth there that we like. Bijan Robinson, James Conner there, pick 77. So we waited about 6-7 rounds to take our second one there. Jerome Ford, Rico Dowdle, Roschon Johnson, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Again, few backups in there, but the positioning is nice. I don't mind it at all. Wide receivers, I feel pretty good about this room at this point. Marvin Harrison Jr., I have taken him nowhere this year, and I finally got a piece of him. But it is what it is. DK Metcalf, Amari Cooper, I like. Christian Kirk, I love. Mike Williams, if he's healthy, in New Jersey or New York, what's New Jersey? I keep calling, I just look at the NYJ and I just forget the Y, so it's New Jersey. And I'm a Giants fan as well, so I should know better. But Mike Williams in there as well. Romeo Dubs, I love. I feel like we got great value. Okay, completed drafts. And I've just lost everything I needed to look at. Very good. Where's the rest of my team? Projection 2,900 points. Okay, no problem. Again, I'm just going through it at this point. Romeo Dubs, Demarcus Robinson, Traylon Burks. Again, up until after Dubs with Robinson and Burks, they're wildcard guys. They could give us a spike week here or there. Pitts, Hawkinson, and Henry rounds out that tight end room. I'm fairly happy with that. Not the end of the world. If we don't do well, it's fine. It's just another entry that we have done. Already in April, we've been punching these out every other week, every 2 weeks, give or take, it feels like, since February, mid-February, when these drafts came out before the Super Bowl. And we're starting to get through them. These drafts are going to look very different in a couple of weeks' time. I hope to do another draft before the rookie draft takes off. We're going to do one more, and then we're going to compare it to the first one we do afterwards and see where we're at. But until then, it's been an hour of fun for you. Thank you for joining me. I am Dan. I am at TheBLeague's. Again, find us over on YouTube, Going for Two Live. Get into our free Discord. It's fantastic. Our Facebook groups, I don't use Facebook anymore, whatever. But they're a thing now, apparently, because no one likes X or Twitter. Thank you, Elon, you dipshit. But you can do that. And, of course, on Twitch, Twitch King over here, just twitching. That's what I do. It is what it is. But, yeah, thanks very much for joining me for another week of the B-League's Best Ball Show. You know the gimmick already. Thanks very much. Cheers and goodbye.